So here you are, you're starting out your Forza 7 journey, but you're inexperienced. You don't know what the best performance cars for the price necessarily are, considering that prices change on every Forza game. Plus you don't really have enough money to be buying cars and finding out that they weren't good enough. You need an informed decision. And that's the purpose of this list. Now of course there are certain criteria which you must define the list under, and the first one is of course price. What's going to be the price limit? And for the sake of this list, I've set it at a beginner-friendly 40,000 credits. That may not sound cheap, but it doesn't take very long at all to earn that kind of cash on Forza 7. The second criteria which all of these cars must hit is that they have to already be good. There's no point in spending 40 grand on a car which then needs another 40 grand to make it competitive. No. All 10 of these are already fast, they're already competitive, and they will all serve you well, not just in career mode, but in the long run online as well. The third and final criteria is, of course, that they must be attainable for beginners. They can't be some affordable but super rare classic that you have to unlock later in the game or just don't have access to. So they have to be cars which you can attain pretty early on, if not straight off the bat. So, with that being the three criteria that we're falling under, what are the 10? Well, it was difficult to narrow it down, but here we go. First up then we have the ACURA INTEGRA Type R. Initially known as the Honda INTEGRA DC2 Type R, this is one of my favourite front-wheel drive cars. I personally prefer the Honda version, which is my favourite front-wheel drive car, but the ACURA is about as close as you can get to it in Forza 7. This car doesn't have the sheer numbers of many of the other cars on the list, but the great thing about a VTEC car, in a similar way to a rotary vehicle, is that the performance which it offers goes so far beyond the raw on-paper numbers. It may have less than 200 horsepower, but it performs like a car with 250. That's the great thing. Plus, it's fantastic through corners. Next up, moving more into the world of classic muscle, because there is pretty much something for everyone on this list, is the 1966 Chevy Nova. Not only is it one of the most affordable muscle cars in the game, but it's also a really good one to have at this price level, because not only does it have the obvious advantage of sheer power over many of the other cars on this list with 350 horsepower and a whole lot of torque, but it's also much better proportioned than many other muscle cars in terms of track use. What I mean by that is, although it's not overly lightweight, and certainly not as nimble as some of the other cars here, it's a lot smaller and more compact than something like a Chevelle or an Impala, and that helps it a lot, even without any tuning, through corners. Next up we have a car which is kind of two in one, the Mitsubishi Evo, and this is one of the reasons why I set the 40 grand limit, because there are some great ones at just over 40 grand, but as I said, you've got to keep that line in the sand adhered to. So, the two Evos in particular are the Evo 8 and the Evo 6, and I'm counting these both as one pick, because of course with the Evo 8 you get that much more modern feel from your Evo, whereas with the Evo 6 it's got that more old school rally car for the road kind of vibe. Either way though, they're both within the price bracket, and of course they're both going to serve you really well because they're Evos. And of course, what better way to follow on from a pair of Evos than with their nearest natural rival, the Subaru Impreza WRX STI, in particular though the 2004 shape model, and the reason for that is because this is the only Impreza to fall within our price range. Now this generation of Impreza isn't that popular visually, but what it does offer is, in a similar way to the Evo, fantastic all-round ability. So it just depends if you want the harder edge of the Evo or the more thumpy boxer engine of an Impreza. Next up we have a car which is more for the straight-up sports car aficionados, a bit of German tech, the most affordable Porsche in the game, the 944 Turbo. Not necessarily the prettiest car around, but it gives you 250 horsepower, 260 pound-feet of torque, and one of the highest top speeds on this list, all for under 40 grand. That's a pretty good deal, all things considered. It doesn't feel as quick as it is, but if you're looking for an iconic badge at an affordable price, well, it's a Porsche. Next up we return to the world of JDM again with another, in a similar way to the Evo, multiple choice pick, and I'm categorizing these all under the Nissan S chassis platform, the S13, 14, 15 and the 240SX, all four of which fall within our price range, ranging from about 24 grand to just under 40. All four models are fantastic, and of course they range quite a bit in terms of on-paper numbers and actual performance. They are all great drifters though, and that's what they're predominantly known for, but they're also very good around the track. Next up, we return to Germany yet again, but this time not with a sports car from Porsche, but with a hatchback from Volkswagen, the Golf R32. A big capacity hatchback with very good power and torque levels, even without a turbo or supercharger to aid it, all-wheel drive as standard, and it gives you the same kind of feel as an Impreza or an Evo in a more compact, thumpy package. It's a great choice, and it's one of my favourites on the list. Next up we have another one of my favourites, returning again to the world of JDM, but the world of JDM in more of a sports car sense, the Mazda FC RX-7. You can get a couple of decent Mazda rotaries for under our price bracket, but none of them really come close to this. The RX-7 is an icon in the world of drifting and high performance in general, and this one delivers both. It's a great track car, a great drift car, and of course it's hugely responsive to tuning, and in a similar way to a VTEC Honda, the performance which it has goes way beyond the simple 200 horsepower on paper. And in some ways this is kind of Japan's answer to the Porsche 944, at least as far as this list goes. So it all depends how you like your sports car, as sushi or schnitzel. And next up we're keeping it in the world of JDM again, but returning to the world of VTECs with, of course, the super iconic, cult classic EK Civic Type R. Not one of my personal favourites of the list, but certainly a lot of people love it. Again, like the Integra, it doesn't have amazing numbers, but it goes way beyond the numbers when it comes to actual track performance. Great engine, iconic car, and it's iconic for a reason. It's really good. And last, but most definitely not least, perhaps my favourite car of the entire list, the Ford F-150 race truck. Not only is it the only truck on the list, but it's a race truck to boot. And it's the most powerful car on the list, with nearly 700 horsepower stock. Stock, of course, being a very relative term. It doesn't have the sheer top speed of an RX-7 or a Porsche 944, but it has great launch, great acceleration, and the handling is, well, not as nimble as a Civic, but certainly not bad. So overall, there's a bit of everything for everyone, regardless of what you're into. If you're a JDM aficionado, a sports car fan, a muscle car enthusiast, or maybe you're just really into powerful trucks. Whatever it is, there's something for everyone within the 40 grand price range. So if you'd like to check out more Forza content that I've already done, you can of course click through to see that at the end of this video, or if you want to see my new content, be it tunes, reviews or countdown videos like this one, you can of course sub down below to see that potentially before anyone else. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.